Hi, this is Allyson Lewis with the 7-Minute Life, and today we're going to be doing an introduction to neuroplasticity. This is a step-by-step training. We're bringing it to you from the 7-Minute Life, and we're going to be talking about the brain. Now, the 7-Minute Life is actually a time management company, but so much of what we do with time management has to do with how our brain thinks. And today I want you to understand that the brain is simply amazing. That it's what brings us the ability to think, to ponder, to plan, to create ideas. And if that's the case, we need to know how to use our brains in the most functional and efficient way that we can. Now, why is the 7-Minute Life different, and why is this brain training different? Because I think there are things that we have to focus on or prime ourselves of why I'm teaching this. Why do I want brains to be different? Why do I want my brain to be different? Because as you listen to this, I want you to have an opportunity to think about your priorities, what's most important to you, to reconnect with purpose in life, to see the potential that your brain gives you, to find the excitement again, to have commitment that you're willing to push through the hard things and learn and grow, to somehow look inside and find that passion that maybe you've been missing, and to create determination that you're going to work and persevere, and to do that with clarity and conviction. These are all things we can do, but possibly we haven't done because we haven't been able to rewire our brain to embrace those things. And what I see from people is that they come to me and they say, Allyson, I'm trapped. I'm stuck. I'm overwhelmed with my time. I don't have enough time to get everything done. I'm distracted. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. And I feel like everything around me is closing in. And like my feet are stuck in mud, I just feel like I can't get out. I'm drifting through life and I want something more. Well, how can you come unstuck? How can you get out of that and find freedom? Well, for me, it came through learning. I wanted to change my brain. I wanted to improve my time management, but I wanted to change my life. So I began to learn. And in that learning came 2 books, The 7-Minute Solution, Time Strategies to Prioritize, Organize, Simplify Your Life at Work and at Home, and then the 7-Minute Life Daily Planner, which is how we execute all these things. But I wrote these because I needed it. I'm the person with attention deficit disorder, actually diagnosed, working through it day by day. I needed tools to solve real problems. I wanted to become an expert at understanding how time management affected my life, how my brain and its inability to pay attention and how I could strengthen that affected my life. So I did a lot of learning, and now I hope I can be that problem solver for you. So let me show you what we're not going to cover. We're not going to say that change is easy or just try this new idea. We're not going to say, hey, you just need a pep talk, or it only takes 31 days to create a new habit. It'd be great if that were true, but change is really hard. Lasting change is hard. But what you will learn by the end of this video is that through neuroplasticity, we're going to learn that there's some amazing facts about the human brain. I'm going to share how to rewire your brain, not only in its functionality, but actually in its physical structure. We're going to talk about growing and learning, the importance of constantly challenging yourself and learning new things. I think you can already know that your brain is a use it or lose it functionality. But if you have a pen, I'd like you to write down the word behavior. Your own behavior, your actions, your thoughts, what you do every day is what changes your brain day after day after day. So let's talk about some amazing facts about the brain. The human brain weighs 3 pounds. It's on all the time. It never turns off. I've read that it's the consistency of cold porridge and that there's somewhere between 50 to 80 to 100 billion neurons. Now, that number's changing as brain science continues to improve, but let's just use the number 100 billion neurons. I'd like you in your mind to look up into the stars in the sky and to see the magnitude of the universe. And there might be 100 billion stars in the sky, except they can't talk to one another. But you have 100 billion neurons in your brain that are there constantly communicating and building pathways and circuitry, teaching you how to talk and see and taste and smell, teaching you how to think and create new ideas, and building pathways to become the person you want to be, or pathways that have led you into ruts that are holding your life back. And the human brain has limited capacity. We only have so much ability to process information. So I want to make sure I'm processing the right information. And your brain is somewhat allocated like real estate. You know, you can imagine that there's a visual cortex and an area for language and an area for touch, an area for smells. And so we have to be attentive to where all of that information is. But your brain is a filter. It filters the important from the unimportant. And that's a job we have to consciously do. Do you want to look at this or that? Do you want to read or do you want to do something else? Because your brain is use it or lose it. Whatever you fill it up with is what it's going to use. And if you don't use it, you lose it. The human brain craves learning. It's constantly learning. It wants to embrace challenges, and it's constantly rewiring by forming new pathways. So neuroplasticity is the fact, and the good news is that the plasticity or the changeability changes throughout your entire life. One of the easiest ways to explain this was shared with me from a psychologist that I interviewed for my book, The 7-Minute Solution. He said he was an old dairy farmer, and his family had cows, and that they lived out in this field, but every day the cows would come back home down a single pathway. They called it a cow path. And what would happen is that these cows, if they came home directly day after day after day, is that the grass would be bent over, it would die, and all of a sudden there'd just be a rut, a piece of dirt, and they'd come through that pathway day after day after day. Doesn't that sound familiar? That over time we've created these models or these pathways that we feel like are the right way because they're familiar. But what happens if your model is broken? What happens if that model or pathway is not leading you where you want to go? The answer is obvious. Create a new pathway. Let me show you a video about how this can be done. This is from Brazil. It is part of the Creative Commons, so you can use this at any point that you'd like to. And this is what they show about the brain. The human brain is attached to the spinal column, and as you go inside the human brain, you'll begin to find a series of what are called neural networks, synapses, and chemicals. Now, we spell synapses differently, but you can see in this animation that there are electrical charges moving back and forth, and these are images of neurons and neural connections, neural pathways, and they are firing electrical impulses and chemical impulses to communicate with each other. But these neural connections are not hardwired. What you're seeing here are tiny gaps that are called synapses, and that's where chemicals and electrical charges can move from one neuron to another through these tiny gaps to communicate with the next neuron and build strong neural pathways. That's where the connections are formed, and that's why you can see that the brain is truly amazing. Because these things are not hardwired, because your brain has these gaps, you can rewire them in an unimaginable amount of structures. 100 billion neurons, they're all waiting to be connected. So let's take a look at this image. On the far left, you can see another animation of these synapses in the bottom left where the neurons are not quite connected. Because they're not quite connected, they can reconnect to other things, which is what you see in the middle. So these connections can strengthen. So let's use the example of a golfer. Let's say that you go out and you take your first golf lesson and you're just trying to get your feet right, you're trying to hold the club correctly, you're trying to understand what it means to swing backwards and how to follow through. That's kind of looked at as the weak connections that are shown on the left. But as you take lessons, let's say that you take lessons over a month, and these are not exact or precise, but you can see that as you take more lessons, you don't have to think about necessarily where to put your feet or how to hold the club. You're beginning to develop skills. And just like muscle, as you strengthen your muscles, they create stronger pathways. So let's look at the image on the right. This is an example, the illustration, of a neural network that has been strengthened through usage. Not just physical usage, not just going out and playing golf, but also just thinking about golf, reading about golf, learning about golf, imagining about golf. it's not just what you do, but it's what you think, believe, see, hear, talk about, watch others do. That's how these neural pathways are created. Now let's take it one step further. Let's not just talk about golf. Let's talk about your life. Let's talk about your priorities. What if you had tools to create your priorities? And at first, your priorities seem to have weak connections, like on the left. And as you begin to study and think about what was most important to you in life, you begin to see stronger connections. And as you spend the next year, or 5 years, 10 years, or the rest of your life, looking at your purpose and your priorities in life, understanding what's meaningful to you, you'll develop new and different pathways. As we go back to the image of the cow path, instead of living down one path, one rut where you feel stuck and trapped, through neuroplasticity, you can create new, completely different pathways. Now, let me explain that with something that is remarkable. On June 22nd of 2015, a company, and you can go look up this post because I'm not promoting any company, but I do think this is remarkable. This is an example of a woman that was born blind, and she's using a different sense, a different sense. We call it sensory substitution, because she's using a part of her brain that, because it can't see, this sense can take over. Now, where did all this come from? Years ago, there was a man that had an idea that he could take something like this. I think all of you know what this is like. And he built a dental chair where a person that was blind could sit back in the dental chair, and it would have a series of pins like this old-fashioned game that we used to play. And it would connect to a camera. And when the camera saw a hand, the pins would move just like this, would move the image of the hand into the back of the chair. And that person, although they couldn't see the hand, they could feel the hand. And over time, with practice, it might take a year or so, they could begin to physically see these things happen on their back. So they're using these pins and the touch on their back rather than their sense of sight. And as they train, they can begin to see more significant and even highly defined images like this. This is an image of a face. And so what if you were that person sitting in the back of that dental chair when it was first understood, and your camera that's connected to the chair is looking out there, and it sees something walk by, and it sees a hand, and all of a sudden a hand appears through these pins on your back. And then it sees a face come by for the first time, and all of a sudden a face pushes up into your back. Can you imagine what that would be like? And over time, you could see a dog walk in. Possibly for the first time, a blind person could see a ball being rolled to them, or could see their toddler crawl on the floor. Can you imagine that rather than be able to see through your eyes, you could see through a tactical piece of information like this? Science has taken it even a step forward. Rather than having to sit in a chair, they've now created this tiny chip that actually goes on your tongue, and in the very same functionality, just like this, instead of with these pins like this, through electrical impulses that come through this, a woman with a camera on glasses can, after a year or so, learn to see through the electrical impulses in her tongue. That's called sensory substitution. It's taking the visual cortex, which is no longer working, and turn it into a different way of understanding sight, to the point that blind people can see through a completely different sensory substitution. That literally changes the structural formation of the brain. How powerful is your brain? It's unlimitedly powerful. 100 billion neurons, all ready to talk to one another, all unconnected because you have the synaptic gap. Everything can change. And how does it change? Your brain changes by what you pay attention to and what your intention is about making that happen. Now, let me give you an example of how strong the brain is. I'd like you to lift your right foot, if you're sitting, lift your right foot in the air and put your foot in a clockwise circle. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm doing it over here too. Take your right foot, lift it in the air, and put it in a clockwise circle. Take your right hand and draw the number 6 in the air and see what happens. Did your foot stop? Let's try it again. Let's see how your brain functions. Now, I want you to really pay attention to your foot. You're putting your right foot up in the air in a clockwise circle. You take your right hand and you draw the number 6 and your foot stops. Why is that? Because some things are hardwired, but other things can change. You know, there are things in your subconscious brain that you can't even help. You can't change that, but there are other things that you can change, and that is your behavior. I was recently listening to a TED Talk by neuroscientist Dr. Laura Boyd, and she said, what limits and facilitates neuroplasticity? The number one driver of neuroplasticity to create change in your life is your behavior. And this is straight from Laura Boyd. She goes on, the problem is that the dose of behavior, the dose of practice it takes to learn a new or to relearn a skill is very large. Nothing is more effective than practice. You have to do the work. So what do you want to have as a new behavior? Do you want to be able to play golf? Play golf. How much do you have to play golf? A lot. You want to be a better learner? How do you do it? You learn. How much do you have to learn? A lot. If you want to be better at being kind, what do you have to do? Be kind. How much? Be kind a lot. Be grateful a lot. Be happy a lot. Learn to have friends and embrace those things. What is it that you want to change in your behavior? Behave that way a lot. She also goes on and she says, the more difficult it is, the deeper the struggle you have to learn something, the more structural change you'll have in your brain. Imagine learning how to see through the tactical part of your brain. Can you imagine changing that behavior? It might take a year. It might take 5 years. But how long are you willing to work on something until your behavior changes? Until the structure and the functionality of your brain changes. How does the behavior change? Behavior changes by every single thing you do. Everything in your life is important. Every behavior, everything you watch on TV, every person you talk to, every happy thought or sad thought, everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you smell, everything affects the structure of your brain. Everything you do. She says in her TEDx talk that when you finish her video, your brain won't be the same. And I hope the same is true with this. I want to help you understand that because your behavior can change, you can change. Everything you think, dream, the ideas that you have, the things that you want to create, as those behaviors change, your neurons change. Your neurons change and grow. And each single neuron will connect to another neuron and another neuron and another neuron, and it will remap your brain. If you look at these things, the weak connections growing into stronger connections. So how can we recap all this? A lot of people feel trapped. And that's how we were in the past, but the brain is changeable. It's plastic. We can create new pathways. We can use and strengthen neural pathways by doing things over and over. What isn't fed dies. If there's something in your life that you don't like, don't do it. If there's something in your life that you like, do more of it. What isn't fed dies. As you change your brain, it literally changes the physical structure of your brain. If you play the piano, your motor cortex grows. If you like to sing, your auditory grows. But how does it grow? It grows by your behavior. Do you want to do this or that? Do you want to go down this path or that path? Your behavior changes everything. And how big a dose of behavior do you need? You need a huge dose. And that huge dose comes through practice. So why is neuroplasticity important? And how does neuroplasticity affect the 7-minute life? We believe everything you do, think, say, feel, believe is what changes your brain. If you come to the 7minutelife.com and go to our tools page, 3 of the most downloaded tools are the 90-day personal goals worksheet, the prioritize your life worksheet, and the discovering your purpose worksheet. If you're new to the 7-minute life, what I've done is I've tried to create, let me back up. The 7-minute life was created because I struggled with attention deficit disorder. I struggled with ADD. I struggled not being able to get things done. So I created templates or worksheets that I could do over and over and over again to change my behavior. So as an example, why are these tools important? Because they change behavior through repetition. Let's start with 90-day goals. If you want to be different 90 days from now than you are today, write down your goals. What is it that you want to accomplish? For me, I want to reconnect and renew my faith. I want my physical shape to be better in 90 days than it is today. I want to read 1,000 books before I die. In the past, I've wanted to go skydiving, so I've been skydiving 3 times. What is it that you want to do? As you change your brain changes by what you want to be and who you want to be and who you see yourself 90 days from today. Your brain changes with your priorities. What you focus on, what you pay attention to, those things grow. And probably the most important thing we do at the 7-minute life is we tell people about time management, but we tell that through the lens or the filter of living a life, living your time through your purpose. So this is how our flow chart works. If you want to change your brain, you first change your priorities and you understand what's most important to you. And then you look at your life purpose and you say, how do I serve others? What are your gifts and talents? How can you change the world? And you understand that love is that foundation of purpose. And then if you want to change your brain, you begin to set life goals. You look at where you are in life and you ask what you want to accomplish at the year of 85. When you look back, what are you taking action on and what's been keeping you from taking action? If you want to change your brain, look at where you are in life. Look at the timeline of your life. We can't do everything right now, but you can choose when you'll do it. What will your behavior take to get down the life that you want? And the 7-minute life is built in 90-day segments because the world changes with seasons. There's summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring. And each new season, I want my behavior to change so that my brain can change. And that brings us down to today. But if my brain is going to change, it has to start with my priorities. What's most important? What's my purpose? What are my goals? And because I wanted to change not only my behavior, but I wanted to be seen as a problem solver for every person watching this, I created tools. This is an example of a tool that I believe changes behavior. When you look at this, your visual cortex is seeing these words, and it literally is changing the way you feel. When you look at the word love, you feel love. When you look at friendships, you begin to experience the memory of friendships. When you look at the word faith, you feel that warmth of wisdom and knowledge. When you look at the word philanthropy, you feel happy that you can give things. What about family or serving others? What about laughter or meaningful work or freedom? Just looking at these words are what we call priming. They're framing. They're creating a framework of what you see right this minute. And as you look at things that are important, your life becomes more important. It happens that fast. When you look at the word love, you feel love. When you look at the word freedom, you feel free, only if it's in that moment. So we created these tools to help you prioritize your life. And you can go to the 7minutelife.com and you can download all these tools for free, but then you have to learn how to use them. Why are priorities important to me? Because they become the filter that my brain uses to decide what pathway to go down. These are my priorities: faith and wisdom, family, love and friendships, health, nutrition, exercise, and hydration. I want to learn and grow. I want to reconnect with freedom and peace. I'm a middle-aged 50-year-old woman, 50-ish. I want that freedom and that peace in my life. I want to laugh. I want to feel joy. I feel most purposeful when I'm creating, not just like creative art, which I love, but creating things that I believe can change the lives of other people. I love teaching and making a difference. I want to find order in life out of the chaos, and I want to have time to spend with those people I love. And I believe financial security is important. I think it's important that we understand that real life goes on, that we still have to do all those things. But as I filter my own world through these values, my brain changes. As I focus on faith and wisdom, I find faith and wisdom. As I focus on family, love, and friendships, I find that. As I focus on my health, I take steps like hiring a trainer so that my priority becomes a reality. As I say, I want to learn and grow, I learn and grow. All of these things become the filter of what your brain sees and changes. What about your personal goals? Who do you want to be in 90 days? Once you write those things down, your brain can begin to change and restructure so that these things can happen. What's your purpose in life? My purpose in life is sharing hope, looking out there that the 7-minute life is not just about time management, but it is about priorities and purpose, about finding meaning and significance in life and finding out what matters. What do you love about life? What makes your heart pound? What would wake you up in the morning and make you glad to be alive? Why is all this important? It's important because everything you are and everything you will be is built on the priorities, the purpose, and the goals you have. Now, I just want to give you a little heads up that next week, or the next video, I guess, we're going to be talking about a tool that has changed everything about how I live a daily life. It's called the Daily Progress Report. And remember that behavior is what drives change in your brain. This single tool, this single sheet of paper is the one thing that has created dramatic neuroplasticity, neuro changes through the behavior of doing the same thing day after day after day. And I want you to stay up with this next video to find out how you can use a single tool to improve your time management, but more importantly, to change your brain and change your life. So that's going to be in the next video. But as we wrap up today, John Maxwell said that there's 6 steps to personal change. As we've looked at neuroplasticity, I hope that you can understand that personal change happens when you begin to think. And as you think, you have to believe it. And when you believe something, that changes your expectations, and those things change your attitude. And when that happens, it changes your behavior. How much does it have to change your behavior? A lot. And when your behavior changes a lot, that changes your performance, everything about your life. And all 6 of those things change your life forever, for lasting forever. And he goes on in that same conversation to say, positive expectation produces excitement, conviction, desire, confidence, commitment, and energy. Isn't that what we want? I'm so glad people come to the 7-minute life looking for time management ideas, but they don't want to just get more done. They want to have life. They want to be able to have time to have their priorities and their purpose. They want to experience this positive expectation. They want excitement, conviction, desire, confidence, commitment, and energy. That's what I want in my life. And that's why we've talked about neuroplasticity today. Your brain can change by the behavior you take and the pathways that you lay down, letting go of the old pathways and strengthening the things that you want to be in the future based on your personal goals, your personal priorities, and the purpose that you believe you've been deemed to be on this earth to fulfill. I'm Allyson Lewis with the 7-Minute Life, and this makes my heart beat fast. My goal in life and my purpose in life is to share hope, and I know that people feel trapped, and they feel stuck, and they feel like they're drifting through life. As you watch this, I hope that you'll comment, that you'll send us questions, that you'll leave your comments below. You'll send your questions to me at info@the7minutelife.com, and you'll engage in learning. We're building a community. The 7-Minute Life community is all about working together. I don't know all the answers. I'm not a psychologist. What I want to do is put out there information that we can grow and learn and change. I believe change happens in an instant. It happens the moment you decide to change. I want to thank you for being here today. Make sure you stay connected with us. Tell your friends, share this video, and we look forward to sharing more information in future videos. I'm Allyson Lewis. I just want to say thanks. Life is a journey. Go journey on.